everyone, it's Margaret Manning here. Welcome to 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. Now, my guest today is Shila Desai. Shila is a world traveler, she's a writer, and she is the founder and the creator of a company called Eat Your Heart Out Tours. And she takes people all around the world on adventures, and I'm really, really happy to have you here today, Shila.
I'm excited to be here again, Margaret. I'm kind of getting the hang of this. So, yeah, thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. Well, we're doing a number of interviews today because I want to cover some topics that are really on the minds of the women in our community. You know, we've talked about group travel versus solo travel and, you know, about the things that you offer through your Eat Your Heart Out tours. And what I wanted to chat with you now, though, is a lot of women, as they get a little older, you know, the bucket list is growing of where you want to go and the things you want to do. And some of them are more adventurous. You know, like I really would love to do something that's a little bit outside my comfort zone. And some women are just super active and want to be, you know, adventurous. So tell us I know you've been traveling for years, you know, what are the qualities that a person needs when they're in an adventure group environment?
So Margaret, when people are in an adventure group environment, again, you think about all the things that are taking them out of their normal day-to-day living. So they're in a different country, the weather is different, the language is different, they're dealing with different food, different cultural norms. So basically everything is slightly, it's not slightly, it is totally away from everything that is comfortable and familiar. And that's what basically they're going for, because that's what they want to experience. So in this sort of situation, people do sometimes tend to get short-tempered. They get sometimes they'll start feeling judgmental. And I think it's very important to, before you actually go out on a trip like that, to say, to expect that, to manage expectations and say, I am going to feel out of my comfort zone. I am going to feel like, why is this person doing this? Because you are not doing your normal thing, your day-to-day thing. And so I think it's very important to come to a tour saying to yourself, I'm going to be tolerant of somebody else because we all not think alike. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be compassionate because people come from all walks of life and they have all kinds of reasons for why they suddenly act in a certain way. And I'm going to be respectful of our differences. I'm also not going to be quick to judge, because once you start judging, I feel that it starts setting up this kind of a spiral. And so I'm not going to encourage cliques or status building, because that sometimes can happen in groups that when you're together for about for a week or more, and then you kind of start seeing these cliques starting to form, and that's very unhealthy because it's going to leave somebody feeling not included. So these are the things that I like to kind of prep my groups about when I bring people together. Say, think about this a little bit. And normally people are wonderful. They've traveled a lot, but it's just that you're in a different environment, a different comfort zone. It sometimes slips and you're not even aware of it. So and then sometimes you have to put that you're going to have to put the group's needs first. And so that is something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, you're part of a team. But everything you've just talked about is in terms of the group, which is, how to bring those qualities to the group environment, which is great. But just when you think about an adventure tour in general, if you're going to be out in the desert somewhere where you're not going to be, in the perfect hygiene circumstances, or, instead of a sparkling Western toilet, you might just end up with a little shed somewhere, or you might be on a cruise where, you're in a world where you're not warm or you're not comfortable. So, and my favorite is internet.
Right. Yes, exactly.
You just might be somewhere where there's not, believe it or not, any internet or very poor internet. So on an adventure tour, all that you said is kind of heightened. And also it applies to the people, like to the tribes or to the people that you're meeting. I know in some of your tours, like the one in Burma, Myanmar, for example, you actually are meeting with, tribal groups they're not living in houses like we do.
No, No. So yes, and the main thing, I think, Margaret, you've touched on all of that, and that's all very relevant. The main thing is bring your sense of humor. Don't pack that first thing when you
Yeah.
pack it, and you'd be surprised how many times we would be my groups and I are in kind of not hairy situations, but situations like, oh, how did that happen? And then you just bring your sense of
Right.
humor. We all start laughing about it. And we meet many years later. We always keep in I always keep in touch with most of my groups. We meet when they're coming in and out of Toronto, or I go to visit them, and we laugh. We look back and we've got the best memories of the situation.
Yeah.
So we make memories on the road through humor when you can laugh about it. So
I
that's
think
very important.
that is such a great reminder. So I think adventure travel you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should go for it. And a group adventure travel is wonderful because you have that opportunity to try something completely new, but you're in a supportive environment. And I remember group tours I've been on where basically anything that comes up, a group of women and guys can solve it. Like between you, you can deal with any eventuality. So it's that you're on an adventure, but you're safe.
Yes, yes,
You know,
absolutely. That's a good way of putting it.
yeah.
And your adventure travel could take you to the highest mountains, to the lowest of to the depths of the oceans,
Yeah.
and everything in between. So some of the stuff that I love doing is leading people off into the deserts in India that are very remote, to go and see their beautiful textiles. And it is, again, there is no big box chains, hotels there. It's always clean facilities with you always have your own washroom, you always have your own
Right.
bathroom, and some of them are very, very ambient. So they have they're made with local materials and run by the local community, and so it's never uncomfortable, or it's never unclean or unsafe, but it's not your Hilton or your Best Western kind of thing. And I love doing that. I love just
Yeah.
taking
That's
people a
great.
little bit. In fact, what I'll tell them before they'll sign on a tour, I'll say, your comfort zone is going to get pushed
Right.
safely and within your limits, but I
Yeah.
will push you a little bit so that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So there's hiking in Sri Lanka. We're exploring. We're hiking in Nagaland in India in the next coming tours.
Mm.
Going to take the camel safari that you mentioned in Morocco
Yeah.
later next year, and then we're going to Bhutan. We're going self-driving and hiking and trekking the dunes in Namibia. That's coming up next. We're going to Oaxaca in Mexico, Day of the Dead with Chloe Sayer.
Wow.
So lots of wonderful, wonderful travels coming up, and all adventure. Like getting to this point where it's not extreme adventure. I'm not saying paraglide down the Himalayas or something like that, but it is going to push your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah,
Well, I think
take you
what
up.
you've just described is great because I think there's a difference between a package tour where you've got everything planned for you, literally morning to night, everything's sort of like being at home, but just in another city or town. And then
Mm.
there's a tour, which, I mean, I wouldn't call all of yours adventure from the descriptions I've seen in the sense of, like going to the Galapagos or, on a icebreaker or whatever. But they are, as you say, adventurous, they're where you are put
Right,
outside your comfort zone. So
right,
what's
right.
your favorite one? What's your very favorite adventure tour?
Well, I have roots in East Africa, in Kenya, and I know the national parks, and I know the savannah, like I know the back of my hand. So for me, my physical muse on this planet is to be out in the Serengeti and wake up in the morning, and just be around the life and be
Yeah,
connected to that primal source of life. And for me, that is the most powerful experience. But my passion also is textiles. So I will
yeah,
go
yeah.
far and wide in search of the best textiles, and how these are made and why they are made the certain way, and why certain motifs are used, and what was the connection historically, because the world used to revolve around textiles and
Yeah, it's
spices, and
very special.
at some point, yes, and that's what we've got in our history lore now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are
No,
those
it's
are
fa-
favorites.
It's fantastic. I can't believe some of the places you go. They sound wonderful. So go up to Sheila's site if you're interested in learning more about these places. It's EYHOtours.com, eatyourheartouttours.com. And I just hope that you have a fabulous year with lots of adventures. And thank you so much for sharing it with us, Sheila. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our 60andMe YouTube channel and also visit our website. We are a strong and dynamic community of women over 60. We're challenging aging stereotypes, and every day we share fascinating stories, interesting questions, and great conversation.